Welcome. We are Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville, and we're here today to talk about the game of life. Has anyone ever been in the game of life? We all are. Clue. Okay, a couple things I want to tell you first. Florence Shinn, and they called her Flossie, wrote this book in 1925. Okay, 1925, I mean, what was going on in the world? When did Unity start? I have to ask you.
1898.
Okay, so she got involved in Unity at that point, and that helped her move forward with these things. She was married for 14 years and divorced. Her husband married 3 other women, and she backed him every time, and hoping that he would find the right one. And when he passed on, he was divorced. So she was just supporting him the whole time, and it was amazing. Let's see, I think that's about what I wanted to tell you about her, because Sherry, thank you, Sherry. A couple months ago, you mentioned the game of life, and it brought it to light in me, so I appreciate it very much. Okay, so I'm going to start off with our news. I wrote the newsletter, and I just want to read one of the paragraphs that's going to set the day. We are presented with so much false fear taking place these days that the oversoul just picks it up and we think it's ours. I got it. We become afraid of things we never even ever thought of. Most of it never ever even happens. We sometimes feel like a walking target. What if this happens and that happens to me or us or my family? Oh my goodness. It is such a mind game that eventually converts to our physical body, filling us with many kinds of aches, pains, diseases, depression. Okay, we're talking about false fears. So what I went into is how, and I want to tell you that you're looking, okay, I want to tell you that these are my beliefs. Okay, so of course they're true, every one of them. And disease occurs, and disease occurs by the speaking of words, the thinking. Okay, it starts there. So this is going to be, I'm just going to tell you how it is. Okay, then after the thoughts or the speaking, it goes into the spiritual world, and spirit hears us. Okay. And then it goes into the physical world. So what do we end up with? Disease, depression, sadness, all kinds of things. So where would you think we should start? Maybe with number 1, huh? Speaking and thinking with a good attitude. God's will. That's one thing that I wanted to talk about, God's will. And this is my belief again. So I believe that God leads us into perfection, love, health, joy, anything that we want. That's God's will for us, is what I believe. And when I hear people say, well, that was God's will that the plane went down, or this happened, or that happened. Well, I always tighten up when somebody says that, because God's will is only for perfection. So if we start saying, well, that's God's will, great. God is only love. So I wanted to talk about that. Now, the book. Who opened the book that you got for Christmas? Every one of you got one. Who read anything? Even a sentence, dear Paul. I read a sentence. Okay, so I have all the page numbers, and page 47 says, the subconscious being simply power without directions. So you all know what the subconscious mind is. Okay? What is it?
Well, so it's all the stuff that we have been fed, true or untrue, that just kind of is in there, and we're not really even aware that it's in there. It's all the impressions that we have about things. It's what our belief system's based on.
Right. So we operate unknowingly out of our subconscious. So the subconscious being simply power without direction, okay? Carries out orders without questioning. The subconscious never questions us with whatever we decide. One of the things that she talked about on page 58 was about suffering. Suffering is not necessary for man's development. It is the result of violation of spiritual law, but few people seem able to rouse themselves from their soul sleep without it. Has anyone ever felt what it's like to be in victimhood?
Never.
I know it. I know it.
There's the ambulance.
What?
There's an ambulance.
There's the ambulance.
Yeah, has anyone ever felt sorry for themselves? Oh my gosh, I have. Has anyone ever blamed anybody else?
Yes.
I have, because Robert is his fault most of the time. He is responsible for my world. So we end up suffering and blaming and other people all the time. So what does that happen? What's going on with our subconscious mind in that way when that happens? Babble. I didn't know that. It's babble is going on. So if the subconscious being simply power without direction, what comes out?
Babble.
Right. So suffering, oh gosh, I mean, I know what it's like to be in victimhood. I know what it's like to, felt suffering and being wanting to be taken care of. Why isn't somebody taking care of me? Why aren't they doing this for me? I can just give into it. However, if we work on all the things that she talks about in this book, guess what happens? Joy. Remember the daily word today that Terry talked about? Joy. And that's where we're heading today. We're heading, how do we get to joy? How do we let all these things go? My daughter, Tracy, says to me, I say, okay, Tracy, just let it go. She goes, Mom, how do you let it go? How do you let it go? Well, does anybody know how you let it go?
You work on it
Just do it.
every day.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Well, you have to deny that has no power in your life.
Right, and so there are so many ways to handle it. However, to me, the preparation of it is what takes time when you say work on it. It's the meditation, it's the books, it's the classes. What we're talking about today, Valerie started a class on the game of life. She's going to be working this book on Tuesday night. Tuesday nights in Center in Prayer, and they're going to be doing the game of life. So you're either going to like it today when I get finished, or you're going to say, I don't want anything to do with that class because I have to be responsible for myself. And I choose not to do that. Okay, let's see, what else does she say? Page 25, 26. Thus, and I'll tell you, my book is so marked up. I mean, I've got pages, so I thought I'd just put it this way. It was much simpler than me fumbling. Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for man. Okay, here's another thing that she did. In 1925, everything was man this, man that. And, if you read, what are you laughing?
It was.
It is. Everything's man.
Yes.
Okay, so I started changing the words, to woman or human, and I'll tell you, it was impossible. There were so many that I just stuck with man. So when I say man, forgive me because it's us's, okay? Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for man who is always pulling the strings himself, though he does not know it. Oh, you mean our subconscious is working and we don't even know it's doing it? My goodness. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever man voices, he begins to attract. Oh, the law of of attraction comes into this too. Does anybody believe in it?
Yeah.
I still believe in it. Oh my goodness. Owing to the vibratory power of words, whatever man voices, he begins to attract. People who continually speak, and this is going to get you, people who continually speak of disease invariably attract it. So we don't have to feel sorry for those people out there that are having all kinds of challenges. Okay? We can salute the Christ in them, we can, whatever we do. However, it has nothing to do with us. Do you know who we have to take care of?
Me.
Me.
Ourselves.
Everybody, me. Okay. You all can take care of me. Leave your phone numbers in those days when I need it. Okay, but, what?
I'm sorry. That's community. That's why we're here.
To support each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see you on the Christ.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, we've had lots of discussions through the years about people on the street or diseases and that kind of thing. And thank goodness that I have been in unity, because my job is to be responsible for myself and my thoughts. And it's not for somebody else. And I want to tell you, it's difficult sometimes. It really is. It's difficult to see the Christ in them, to see God in them. It really is. And it's all the meditation, the books, the people you're hanging around, the classes, etc. Okay. Man receives only that which he gives. Did you all know that? Oh my gosh. The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Man's thoughts, deeds, and words return to him sooner or later with astounding accuracy. Through the years, as Robert and I were into this for like hundreds of years, decades, things would come up, and it's a learning process for all of us, wherever we are. And things would happen, and I would say, really, is the law of attraction really going to happen? Because this person seems so mean to me, and I want the worst for him. And Robert goes, no, the law will take care of it. You don't take care of it, okay? So does that make sense? I mean, how we feel upset about somebody, or we want something to happen to somebody, and through the years, it's a stepping stone at a time to really believe. It's the faith. It's the faith that we believe all these things that unity teaches. I mean, it's trust and faith in the universe, in God, in the energy, that we are responsible and everyone is responsible for themselves. So we draw unto us. Okay. Okay. I'm close to the end.
Doing good.
Page 25 and 26. The body may be renewed and transformed through the spoken word and clear vision, and disease be completely wiped out of the consciousness. Take that in for a minute. Any aches or pains? Any challenges that we're dealing with? We can actually, the body may be renewed and transformed through the spoken word and clear vision, and disease be completely wiped out of the consciousness. Where's my magic wand? Let's get this, all of us, right now. It can be wiped out just like that. The metaphysician knows that all disease has a mental correspondence, and in order to heal the body, one must first heal the soul. And what she calls herself, she's been called Flossie. What she said is the soul is the subconscious mind, and it must be saved from wrong thinking. So she's calling it the soul, the subconscious mind. So in letting things go on a daily basis, in changing our attitude, what can happen?
You better yourself.
And
If
not
you're
only
healthy.
that, but everybody around you. If you're willing to let that happen.
So who's interested in joy and happiness and health and prosperity? Yeah. So all these things have held us back in the past. So now we can move forward into the present and future, just allowing these to dissipate, and we can be happier and more joyful. And yes, Valerie.
So in this morning's class in the Eye of the Storm, we talked about letting go of the need to be right.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't there.
Yeah. And we talked about also learning how to know that we didn't need things to be perfect in order to feel safe and secure. And so what you're telling me is that I really need to kind of identify ways within myself where my belief system is hindering me rather than helping me.
Perfect words. Yeah, and how do we do that? We go to Valerie's class on Sunday. We go to Robert's meditation in the morning.
Those are good starts.
We go to the Course of Love on Wednesdays. Well, Reverend Bell just started a class on Charles Fillmore's
Talks
teachings.
on truth.
Yeah.
And it really, Larry was there, it goes deep. Quickly, yeah.
Are we ready for it? It's really deep.
Should be deeply, but, you know.
Oh, deeply, okay. I think we are. We are. Yes, sir.
Well, I thought about it like brainwashing myself.
Yep.
Because the old saying is, if you don't brainwash yourself, well, then somebody else is going to do it for you.
That is so true, yes.
For me, we all have different kind of levels of suffering. But by the same token, you have to heal yourself first and let go. I mean, completely let go for you to be in the joy and the love and the enjoyment of enjoying things and everyone around you. I choose to be happy today, but I could also choose to be home crying, feeling sorry for myself. So it's up to me to take care of me from the level of suffering and let it go. I mean, really let it go.
And we can support each other that way too. I mean, she talks about always having, people that you can, help each other. Sure.
If I may, when I read this book the first time, because I've read it at least a half dozen times, I got lost in the abstractness. There's so much richness in this book. It's like one thought after the next, after the next, after the next. Like my highlighter exploded. I find that I'm a very practical, pragmatic person. And I saw a story earlier this week that I thought was a perfect illustration of the discussions in this book. The woman was talking about being in a coffee shop, and she got bumped by somebody who was walking by her, and she spilled her coffee. And the question was, well, why did you spill your coffee? And the answer that most people gave was, because somebody bumped my arm. And she said, well, no, you spilled your coffee because coffee was what was in your cup. If you had had tea in your cup, you would have spilled your tea. If you had had water in your cup, you would have spilled your water. So it all comes down to what are we deciding to fill our cups with? Because when life hits us, and it will, that's what spills out. If we're filling our cup with sorrow and suffering and angst and victimhood, and somebody bumps us, life bumps us, then that's what spills out. But if we're consciously filling with joy and love and kindness and compassion and grace, that's what spills out when life bumps us. I'm such a practical person. That hit me between the eyes in ways that the reading of the book never quite did. And now I get to go back and look at the book with a very different lens. So I just...
It really is. I mean, the book is phenomenal. Is there anybody here who hasn't read it yet who would be willing to read it now?
It is full, it's unbelievable. Thin book, it has more than
Look how
multi
full it
volumes.
is.
I was thinking the cracked plate, man.
Oh yeah, when Florentine used to pray. She used to, what do you call it? Like, not pray with people, but like give them
The
a
treatment, make a
give
treatment
them a
for
treatment.
prosperity.
For prosperity or whatever it was. So a woman came to her and wanted a new set of dishes, and she treated her. And then the next day, or whenever it was, the woman received a plate and it was cracked. So she goes back to Florence and she said, "This was the treatment." Well, we always talk about the cracked plate because 2 days later, guess what she got? A new set of dishes. So when they start coming into manifestations, sometimes things happen ahead of time. It doesn't look like what we really want. And that's the chaos that we want to really work toward. So, yes, sir.
That last property we looked at, that was definitely a cracked plate. You smelled it for those who were there.
Okay, a bunch of the board went to see the property, and for the new people, as you were here, we're looking for a new church property. We have money in the bank and we're ready to do it. And this was, thank goodness you didn't make it to. I sat in the car. Okay, is there any other comment
It's a process of getting
before?
clear. It's a process of being clear.
Yeah,
You know, and really, we talked about this morning in class, you know, the sticking with it. And it's like, to me, the cracked plate is, like you said, sometimes you have to be really crystal clear about what you want to create in your life. And you
Right.
really have to continue to hang in there. Faith for
Trust.
stuff to manifest. And sometimes things aren't immediate. And as you're sticking with it and as you're having faith, you're just it's like Sherry said, you're reinforcing those qualities within you until what you want actually manifests. So that when all of these other little cracked plates and things show up, you know, you're still getting joy, you're still getting love, you're still getting, you know, and you're putting it out there, so that's what you're going to get back.
Larry,
Say I want a new car. Is that because it gives me joy, or is it because I'm afraid my own car is going to break down on the road? So I'm doing it for fear instead of
Choices.
So the real secret is to be able to declare it from your true self and not from your fears.
yes,
Yeah, I'm experiencing fear because of some of the changes. It's like a car starts at $30,000 now. You know, that seems like a lot of money for a car. Or the rent, everybody's rent went up $300. It just kind of, I don't know. I'm having a hard time dealing with the changes, but I can remember in the past where everything was, like a car was $10,000. I had the same problem when it went to
So I have a
$20,000.
question for you.
You know,
Are you gonna come back next week? Because if you do, I'll have a game of life for you to give you,
okay,
to see if that'll help the fears.
yeah,
Because I really find that when I walk through them, you know, she talks about ladders and people are afraid of this and afraid of that. Well, I'll tell you, this morning, when I admitted my fear, it helped me. It helped me be here. And so, fear is helpful. What are you laughing about now?
I'm just thinking about the issues you have been through when we didn't have enough money to pay the rent, and we stayed with it, when we didn't have enough money to purchase a car and one showed up. We worked on faith, and you held the picture, and it came through. So I hear those, but I understand that it's false evidence appearing as real, which goes way back. And it's understanding that God is present, everywhere present. And as a child of God, what do I inherit? Nothing but joy, peace, and the abundance that is mine. But I'm the only one that cuts it off because of fear and not trust or faith. So again, it's what I speak. And if I speak fear, if I look at the problems, I create the problems. And that's still work with that. And you remind me of that. It's like even, what have we been through? You've been through a heart attack with me. You've been through colorectal cancer with me. You've been through a stroke with me. And here I am, 20, 30 years later, still above ground, doing well and joyous because of your belief and fostering that. So you have the right to speak of faith and to face down fear. I'm not going to say anything else.
You said so often what we're afraid of never manifests.
But in my opening argument, that's what it was about.
See, it's like the IRS. We had $1 million, I'm on it. We had $1 million suit against us by the IRS. They were tracking us, closing bank accounts, and it was all false. And when I was traveling the world speaking, and you were home handling it, and you worked through it. And yes, you were on the floor crying because they actually came to the house, if you remember all that, and you faced it, and here we are. And it was all false, and it went away.
Thank goodness, look what we learned.
How many people have overcome the IRS and $1 million category? Okay? Excuse me, I refuse to even talk about fear because that's what drives us.
Well,
Okay?
that's the retraining of our own mind and our own
Yeah.
training.
It is.
You know, I mean,
Brainwashing ourselves with good rather than.
now the brainwashing can start every morning with
Yes.
the daily word. That daily word
Yeah.
can put more on you, more good on you than you know. Every day. And remember what I said about the chip on the shoulder, that positive chip on your shoulder?
Yep.
Nobody knocks that off unless you give them permission. And that's what the daily word does for me. Every morning. So that's a great way to go. That's retraining the mind right there. It's that simple.
And Randy, don't get confused tomorrow morning when you read the daily word, because I asked Terry to read tomorrow's today. Because it was about joy. I've heard this before.
See, I read the daily word this morning, so.
Oh, so you knew it was the wrong one?
I was like sitting there going, I must have been on the wrong day.
We're really here to share that for each other. And there's people in this room that these prayer chaplains have prayed for that have overcome amazing things. I know people didn't have enough money to pay their rent. It came through. I know people have had marvelous healing. I know people have all kinds, because of the prayer work here. Yes?
Yes.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Look at it, smile on Doug's face.
Okay, we're about joy.
Amen, brother.
And we get more joy tomorrow.
We do, that's true. So, I pulled out one of our poems, not to compete. But I have a whole bunch of poems that I've written through the years, and this one was in 2011. It's called The Inner Shift, Joy. Are you finished?
For some reason, I really got stirred up. I did.
She's
Okay.
on. She's on.
Shut up, Robert.
Yes.
What I'm saying about attitude is annoying and insane. Why would something as simple as this be the source of my tied-up brain? How could my happiness depend on my own attitude, you see? I always thought that the joy would come and had nothing to do with me. For if I just shift my thoughts about something in my world, do you mean my life could change and I would become unfurled? When I look at a specific item that has caused a bit of unrest, if I change my thoughts about it, this could really be a good test. So let me think about something like getting ready for words to say. Why now? It's quite simple. All the sentences just showed their way. For thinking about joy and happiness and how wonderful a place to be, do you mean all I've got to do is ask for it and it's really mine for free? So if the truth of all being is the energy always of love, that would mean that it is given to us like a beautiful free-flying dove. For judgment in the past, taking harm up for a plea, this is totally nonsense, for now I choose only plea. How gentleness enters the picture, the word alone seems so kind, and what I choose for happiness is all in the frame of my mind. As I really believe our Creator gave us everything that we need, and how we go on pleasing Him is to stand and take this creed. Joy is my song of thanks, of appreciation far and wide. Happiness is always number one. Let's keep it in our stride. And always remember others, for they are a part of us. So giving and receiving is the same and very just. Thank you, my dear Father. It is amazing what you've done. You have really set this world up so we can entertain ourselves with fun. Let's always remember the gentleness that it takes in every way. To bring the joy and happiness within us depends on what we say to ourselves and all the others that our world encompasses now, and how we can create our future is to always remember this vow. Thank you, universe, for everything that happens must be, and I promise to always remember that everything is up to me.
Yes.
Okay, so let me end with all power is given man through right thinking to bring his heaven upon his earth, and this is the goal of the game of life. The simple rules are fearless faith, non-resistance, and love. Oh my gosh, easy. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Have you heard that before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I took one of her affirmations, and if you wish to join me in it, good. If you don't, that's okay too. Ready? Only that which is true of God is true of me. For I and the Father are one.
Amen.
Amen.